Well, hello, I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is the first official episode of Pop Chat. And on today's show, the Kardashians are finally pulling the plug on their reality show, and you know what? Love them or hate them, they've left a permanent mark on pop culture. Plus, the Oscars have announced these new diversity rules, and also the Emmys are this weekend, and we are asking, do you care? Do award shows still matter? And also, we unpack the controversy around Netflix's new movie, Cuties. Okay, so you've heard a little bit about the controversy surrounding the new Netflix movie, Cuties. Everyone from U.S. Senator Ted Cruz to the new leader of the opposition here in Canada, Erin O'Toole, they've been tweeting about it. So what is going on? Is it exploitation? Amil, I'm going to start with you. Why are people upset about this movie?
Yeah, God, and they really are. The ones that are upset are very upset. So basically, back in August, Netflix started putting out some promotional material for a new film that they'd acquired, a French film called Cuties. And in the traditional kind of Netflix style, it was quite without context, and it was a pretty provocative photo of very young girls, and it set people crazy. In this kind of like climate that we're in, where QAnon has really infiltrated corners of the mainstream. It was like bait, and so people have been calling to cancel Netflix. The movie hadn't even premiered yet. No one had any idea what it was about, but it turns out that the movie is exactly what people are railing against. It is about the dangers of hypersexualizing young girls. So the film is about an 11-year-old Senegalese girl in Paris who is sort of trying to escape the oppression of her home life by joining a dance crew. And the movie sets out to portray, some of the things that young girls experience now.
I mean, it's such an easy target to drum up, favor from these fringe groups that have such a loud voice. The controversy, not the film, the controversy speaks so directly to these QAnon extremists, to this sort of pedophilia panic that is not actually rooted in the reality of this horrible, thing that's happening, everywhere. But, pedophilia is a real issue, but these sort of false controversies aren't addressing that. They're addressing these ridiculous hoaxes and, making a mountain out of this molehill, which is, just a small international film that's actually commenting on it.
14 years and 20 seasons after Keeping Up with the Kardashians first aired, the show is now coming to an end. And boy, what a ride it's been. The Kardashians, you could reasonably say, are leaving behind a landscape that has changed because of them. There's a lot to dig into here. So, Shireen, be real with me. How did you feel when you first heard that the show was ending?
I was very interested in what they're going to do next. Like, this isn't the end of us seeing the Kardashians. I mean, I think business model wise, influencer wise, I think Kim Kardashian was one of the first huge influencers in that celebrity sphere, who wasn't necessarily an actress or an athlete or didn't have this celebre around her, but she was just famous for being famous as it went. And the porn, obviously, the tape that was released. However, I have maybe not a popular opinion about this. I mean, I think Kris Kardashian is a brilliant business strategist. Yeah. She should be teaching at Harvard Business School. I was thinking about this. I have children that I could exploit also. And if I could get a model for how to do that and live that money. And I mean, yes, there's a lot of things we can talk about: anti-Blackness, cultural appropriation, theft from small designers and whatnot, and exploitation of labor in different places to make their products. The list goes on and on. But I think my biggest thing is they've made me think, this family as a whole, made me think about the levels of criticism and why we focus it on women as opposed to men. I think there's an unfair treatment here. So there's a lot going through my head. I have a lot of thoughts on this family, weirdly.
No, I love that. So with all these big changes afoot, we thought we should talk about award shows and if anybody still cares. But first, Kevin, can you explain to me the new diversity inclusion rules that the Oscars announced?
I can try, because they're so odd and confusing that, that they're giving themselves 4 years to put them in place. But basically, broadly speaking, they created, 4 buckets of standards that in order to be qualified for Best Picture, a film will have to meet. And they include, the diversity in the actors who are on camera, diversity in, character and storylines, diversity of the people behind the camera. On the one hand, when you look at every measure, just down the whole list, you're like, oh my God, this is such a wild push towards diversity and, a major, major important hoop that they're making these people jump through in order to make the Academy more inclusive. But then there are people who have gone back over the last, 2 decades at least and seen that, every Best Picture nominee that there has been already meets these standards. So it's basically just the Academy saying, hey, everyone, we're thinking about diversity and we want you to think about it too. However, as long as business keeps operating as usual, nothing's really going to change.
I'll tell you what movie for sure meets those qualifications is Green Book, Amil.
I knew it. I was like, is he going to bring up Green Book?
Hell yeah, I am. Yeah, Best Picture winner and delight to crowds everywhere. Green Book. Here's the thing. I'm curious if you think these rules will actually end up achieving anything.
I don't think so. Certainly not in the short term, because, you could conceivably, like you just said, Green Book, you can have a film that meets 2 of the criteria, but still have a completely all white crew. You could have, still have white directors, white producers. I just don't think that they go far enough.
Will Carol Baskin add Emmy-nominated actress to her profile?
God.
She's on Dancing with the Stars, which is, I think, a rite of passage for like anyone, according to Amil's list. Like Lisa Rinna was also that. So I think there's a Amil way to get through, and it gets reality TV, then Dancing with the Stars, and maybe. My only focus, and I don't usually go hard line because I appreciate television a lot, is if Schitt's Creek doesn't win everything, I want the US-Canada border permanently closed. But I loved that show, and I am just, it's got to sweep. Otherwise, we don't want to have another War of 1812 on our hands.
So that's it for the show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PopChatCBC. Thank you so much to the panelists, Kevin Fallon, Amil Niazi, Shireen Ahmed. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm your host, Elamin Abdelmahmoud. See you back here next week.